What's up, you beautiful bastards? Yes, I stole that from the Phil DeFranco show. Welcome to another episode of Greg's Vlog Reviews, and today I'll be talking about the SyFy original series, The Magicians. So what exactly is this show? So it was promoted and marketed as the adult version of Harry Potter, right? Now we've all heard that presented before in a sense to certain shows that have been magic related, and I was really hesitant at first when I heard that tagline. The second thing that made me more hesitant was it was a sci-fi show, and sci-fi shows are really hit or miss. They obviously have low budgets. Some of them have low budgets or lower budgets compared to other TV shows, so they can't do a lot of fancy visual effects. They have to think really creatively and crafty when they show things, and so it can be a challenge to have a big spectacle of a science fiction show and have no budget, or something comparable to a Netflix series, right? So I was hesitant at first. I saw the trailers and I decided, you know what, I'll give it a shot. It has been an incredible journey. The show has lasted 5 seasons, the 5th being its final season, and I've loved every second of it. It's a fantastic show about adults. I'm not gonna say teens because they're kind of all over the place, the age range. So adults discovering magic in this world of the magician. So the story centers around characters named Julia Wicker and Quentin Coldwater, who discover that magic is real, and they do magic by doing really fun things with their hands. That's how they do it. They have to do certain things with your hands, and that's how you cast spells, which is fun to me. And they're called magicians. They go to a school that's called Break Bill's Academy, is where obviously you train to become a magician and how to learn to use magic. And that's kind of where the similarities to Harry Potter kind of stop, because I'm going to avoid spoilers in this review. You get into the multiverse, people die, people come back, people stay. It's insane. They explore multiple mythologies, Greek, Roman, you name it, pagan. They cover different religions and all that stuff. Gods exist in this world, and you actually get to see the human versions of them and how they act, and you get some kind of fun fictional history on them as well. The show goes in so many interesting directions, and it's a roller coaster ride to watch. You care about each one of these characters, and it has a really great diverse cast. You have Stella Maive, I hope I'm saying her name right. She plays Julia Wicker. Also Hale Appleman, who's absolutely fantastic, playing a character named Elliot. Arjun Gupta playing Penny, who's a phenomenal actor. All these actors on this show are fantastic. The focus is usually on Julia and Quentin, but it kind of goes all over the place because the other characters are so likable and so interesting. They're almost main characters onto themselves. Brittany Curran, she plays Fen. Fantastic. Started out as a throwaway side character and completely came back. Trevor Einhorn, who you might have known him from Mad Men, he comes in and blows his performance out of the water. Everyone does such a tremendous job. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The acting is absolutely stellar, and that's partially in thanks to the brilliant writing. There's some great one-liners when the characters are having conversations or trying to figure out a problem. It feels real. It feels like there's a sense of danger and dread, and they're not just saying be careful, this is dangerous. It feels like there's stuff at risk. But the one thing that separates this show from every other fantasy show I've watched, whether it be sci-fi, Game of Thrones, or whatever, are its themes. So the coolest thing and the most interesting thing this show does is it takes a world like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it takes that sense, that romanticizing version of fantasy that we all come to know and love, and kind of just puts it on ground level, makes it realistic. How would the world of Hogwarts be if it was just the real world, with real world problems? And of course that comes, death is an issue, disease, sex, all this stuff that happens in real life that's not all happy-go-lucky and, is addressed in this. And they take that, like I said again, they take that romanticized version of a fantasy world and it's not necessarily they make it dark, they just make it realistic. Well, as realistic as it can be for a fantasy film. Again, avoiding spoilers, they find a magical land that they go to, and it's based on a book that's parodying The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, basically. The thing that I loved about it is when I read those books as a kid, even as a young adult, wouldn't it be great to see this world? Wouldn't it be fantastic to experience this? What if magic was real? How cool would that be? And it takes those themes and it twists them, but it doesn't twist them in a negative way. It just puts a realistic spin on things. Hold on. And that's what the show does so well, is that you grow attached not only to the characters, but the environments and the worlds that they visit. And to be honest, it has some of the best set design, locations, and cinematography I've seen in a long time. Again, this is a low budget show. We're not going to have like Game of Thrones level people running around in a giant CGI mess, right? So they have to get really creative. And the school location is fantastic. They film in Canada, Vancouver, Canada, and around the area. The magical worlds that they visit always look great. There are even some other places they visit, non-spoilers, and just everything has its own character. When a scene or a set has its own sense of character, that's just brilliant production design, especially for a low budget. And I'm going to say most of their budget stuff is probably on the sets themselves. It's not that there are a lot of practical effects in these sets or show, because they do magic with their hands and there is stuff that's CGI, but it's done very tactfully and very seldomly, because obviously they don't have the money to do something as big. So instead they go all out on the sets, and the sets in themselves are characters. It's really hard not to give stuff away, but everything from the lighting to the way the sets are shot to even the color grading when they go to different locations all comes together just so beautifully. It's and again, it's also thanks to the incredible writing. The dialogue between these characters is absolutely hilarious, particularly Hale Appleman's character Elliot and Summer's character Margot. They have great chemistry. They have this like really dry monotone of humor, like they don't take no shit, and it's great. And like I said, you really have to watch the show.
P.S. We still hate you.
We're emotionally advanced. We can hold resentment and sympathy for a person at the same time.
We're phenomenal.
I heard you guys were dead, so I threw this massive rager in your honor.
The fact that you just called it a rager sickens me.
Now, the thing I would say about this show are a couple things. Don't go in this show expecting to see Harry Potter level of magic constantly. Like I've sound like a broken record during this review. It's a low budget show. You're not going to have a ton of spells and magic effects. It's not a huge special effects bonanza, right? They use it very seldomly and tactfully. 2, this is not something you want to watch with younger audiences. There's a lot of provocative situations, a lot of sex themes and situations. I can't remember if there's nudity in it. I don't think there is. I think there's some side boob. But like, guys, yeah, so it's not something that you would want to sit down with your 8-year-old kid or 9-year-old kid and watch. It's definitely for adults. The whole show is for adults. But anyway, guys, if you're looking for something to binge watch and you've never heard of this show, give it a chance. Season 1 through 5 are absolutely fantastic. The story takes twists and turns in ways that you don't expect, and it plays on that fantasy of you wanting to visit these magical worlds when you were a kid, and what if you went to them as an adult and they weren't exactly what you thought they were, because maybe an author who based it on real life visited these worlds and cut out the gross things. Slack. Anyway, like, everyone is absolutely fantastic. It has a stellar cast, diverse cast. Give it a shot. There are some things, obviously, some character tropes that happen, I think in season 2 or 3, that I didn't personally care for, but that really don't want to knock it too much for that. But it's a crazy, fun fantasy adventure show, and I highly recommend it. So there you go.